Welcome to the Explainer. Right now, we are setting the stage in Ankara, Turkey, for the 2026 NATO Summit. And listen, this isn't just some routine political photo op. It's a high-stakes gathering of the world's most powerful military alliance at a time when global security is under unprecedented pressure. If you want to understand the forces actively reshaping our world right now, you are exactly in the right place.
So how exactly does a meeting in Ankara affect global oil prices and future wars? It's a massive question, right? You might be sitting thousands of miles away from Turkey thinking this is just closed-door diplomacy, but the decisions made behind those doors ripple out to impact your daily life. We're talking about decisions that influence international shipping costs, dictate the rate of global inflation, shift the balance of military power, and literally redefine global security.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First up, what is NATO today? Then, the European Security Challenge. After that, we'll explore the changing face of war. And finally, global ripples and impact. We're going to zoom all the way out from a foundational treaty signed decades ago to the massive global economic impacts happening right now.
All right, part one. What is NATO today? The foundational alliance.
NATO didn't just pop up overnight. It was actually born out of strict Cold War necessity back in 1949 when 12 Western democracies were terrified of Soviet expansion. Fast forward to 2001, and the alliance was really put to the test after 9/11. And now, here we are in 2026, and it has swelled to this massive 32-member bloc gathering in Ankara. It's totally evolved from a mid-20th century pact into this sprawling modern security apparatus.
But here's the crazy part. Despite all that explosive growth, this entire 32-nation alliance basically rests on one single principle, Article 5, collective defense. The idea that an attack on one member is considered an attack on all. And what's really interesting about this is that for a primarily European-focused alliance, it's only been invoked exactly once in history, just once. And that was to support the United States after 9/11. Still, that one rule remains the absolute cornerstone of NATO's credibility and its deterrence power today.
Moving on to Part 2, the European Security Challenge, navigating the Russia-Ukraine war.
To really grasp the complexity here, we kind of have to look at this like a giant geopolitical chessboard. So, objectively speaking, let's look at NATO's perspective first. Ever since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, NATO has heavily reinforced its eastern flank. They've deployed troops, provided advanced air defense systems, artillery, the whole shebang. From their viewpoint, doing all this deters aggression and preserves peace, all without crossing the line into a direct NATO-Russia conflict. Now, flip the board. From Russia's perspective, Moscow views this NATO military expansion near its borders and the ongoing assistance to Ukraine as a massive, direct threat to its national security. They argue that these actions are just escalating regional tensions. This stark difference in how both sides view the exact same map, that is literally what's driving the current geopolitical instability in Europe.
And naturally, this conflict is fundamentally shifting the defense burden. For years, Donald Trump has vehemently argued that European allies really need to carry an equal financial weight. He frequently points out that the U.S. has historically shouldered a way bigger chunk of NATO's military and financial responsibilities. Well, that pressure is having an effect. It's actually pushing Europe toward long-term defense self-reliance. But wait, it's not just about writing bigger checks. It's about where that money goes, modernizing military equipment, upgrading critical logistics and intelligence systems, enhancing their rapid deployment capabilities, and, this is a big one, boosting industrial capacity so they can actually manufacture ammo and equipment fast during a crisis.
Okay, Part 3, the changing face of war, beyond tanks and troops. This brilliantly illustrates how the battlefield has moved way beyond traditional fighter jets and artillery. It's a whole new world. First up, artificial intelligence. AI is completely revolutionizing how military planning and intelligence analysis are done. Second, drones. Autonomous drones are completely reshaping reconnaissance and precision strikes. Third, cyber warfare. Think about this. Today, an adversary can disrupt your financial systems, your local government, your power grids, all without firing a single actual bullet. Insane, right? And fourth, space. Satellites are basically the new high ground for navigation, missile warnings, and comms. To even stay relevant, NATO members are having to pour massive investments into all these new tech domains.
Which brings us to Part 4, global ripples and impact, from the Atlantic to the Indo-Pacific.
Now, you might be scratching your head wondering, why is an Atlantic alliance suddenly focusing so much attention on the complete opposite side of the world? Well, it largely comes down to China.
Now, to be clear, China isn't viewed as a direct military adversary in the same way Russia is. But its rapid military modernization and growing global influence, that's forcing NATO to think big picture. They're realizing that security in Europe relies heavily on the Indo-Pacific. So they're zeroing in on supply chain resilience, cybersecurity, maritime security, and they're forging these really robust partnerships with nations like Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and South Korea. Basically, security challenges just aren't strictly regional anymore. And that global nature, it brings this whole thing right back to you. Because at the end of the day, security decisions are almost always economic decisions. Geopolitical tensions disrupt energy markets, they hike up shipping costs, and that ties directly into the rising inflation you're probably feeling right now at the grocery store or the gas pump. At the same time, this tense environment triggers massive new investments in defense tech and aerospace, and this matters everywhere. Take a strategically autonomous nation like India, for example. They have to carefully navigate relations with the US, Europe, and Russia, all while trying to maintain stability for their own economic growth in the Indo-Pacific. The point is, everyone, literally everyone, feels the economic ripples of the decisions being made in Ankara.
So, what does this all mean? The core takeaway here is pretty clear. The NATO Summit 2026 is actively shaping tomorrow's interconnected geopolitical landscape. As we've just seen, security is never just about the military anymore. It's deeply economic, it's highly technological, and it impacts all of us.
I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. As the battlefield rapidly expands into space and the cyber domain, can an alliance founded way back in 1949 actually maintain stability in an increasingly complex and interconnected world? That is the exact question leaders in Ankara are wrestling with right now. And honestly, it's one that's going to define our global future. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer today. I really hope it sparked your curiosity and helped clarify exactly what's at stake here. Until next time, stay focused and keep learning.